So now we're in 2024. Congratulations to everyone that made it. 2023 was a pretty stacked year for virtual reality. The amount of content and headsets, whether on PSVR, PCVR, or on Quest, has steadily been increasing. The amount of interest, I would say, is higher than ever, and hopefully 2024 outdoes 2023. And we begin to see adaptation of VR in the mainstream. Quest 3 color pass-through significantly improved people's perception of being inside a headset, since it's not as closed off as something like a Quest 2, with it having black and white pass-through. So the first bit of news is Qualcomm announced a more powerful version of the Quest 3's XR chip line. It can support 4.3 resolution at 90 FPS and has a 15% increased GPU frequency and 20% increased CPU frequency. It can support up to 12 concurrent cameras. Why is this important? Is because they also mentioned collaboration with Google and Samsung, working on new technologies and putting an importance on XR and AR more than anything. So expected to see it rival the Apple Vision Pro type of headsets rather than Quest. The new XR2 Plus Gen 2 isn't a refresh, so when we do get a Quest 4 or a Quest Pro, we should be getting better and newer and more efficient silicon, considering Meta likes to ship their headsets and debut them with the newest Qualcomm chipsets, except for, of course, Quest 1. So that is something that farther down the road will be interesting to look at. We are getting closer to achieving console-like graphics. That's what everyone wants. They also note to be working with immersed visor. This reminds me of when Carmack, if you remember, shout out to the GOAT, was disappointed by Qualcomm's lack of optimization. After his departure, we got V55 that gave us Quest 2, 26% CPU increase in performance and 19% increase for GPU. Heat and battery is a large part of what is holding back mobile VR headsets. Since you're wearing things so hot to your face, they are a hazard, and that's taken into consideration when developing and cooling the chips. Also, a year ago, this wouldn't have mattered to me, but I switched to Android and I am part of the Samsung Knights. Samsung mentions it fitting in with the Galaxy family. I own a Z Fold 4 and Buds Pro 2. I am slightly anticipating the headset, but other than the price tag, I tend to wait on second generation products. Another key thing is, since this rivals the Vision Pro line of headsets, Vision Pro uses two processors, one for compute, the M2, a laptop chip, and R1 for the cameras. R1 is to reduce the input delay, and that is where all the magical headlines come from. And it's interesting to see where Qualcomm takes one road in combining everything into one chip, while Apple goes the other in separating those tasks. And next up, not so good news. So recently, 2VR Studios got the hammer. Developers First Contact Entertainment behind PSVR2's Firewall Ultra, a multiplayer FPS game, is shutting down. Previously, they did Firewall 0 Hour that came out in 2018. The reasoning is for the lack of sales and development costs. They, at the start, were funded and pushed to be the catalog of titles coming to PSVR2. This doesn't look great for PSVR2, but I also saw people criticize the game and its direction as being the problem. As a multiplayer game, people struggle to even get queued up in matches. Then we got a multi-platform dev, Archiac, that recently released Journey to Foundation. The Canadian studio on January 4th, 2024 on Twitter released a statement regarding having to lay off a significant number of the development team. It's substantial considering its animation, engineering, IT, QA, etc. I think it correlates in large part due to their recently released game doing poorly. On PSVR2, the main target of the game, it received a 50% discount 2 months after release. Priced a little bit too high considering it's a known IP, but not a known VR IP. 86 ratings on PSVR2 and 47 on Quest. It's painful to see, especially since the scope of the game is larger. I haven't played the game yet, but it looks more like a Telltale game, and looking at the trailers, I'm kind of confused what the game is exactly. This doesn't mean VR is dying, but it shows that it's definitely the riskier bet considering most AAA games and titles get some type of Sony or Meta funding to get started. Also, before I forget, Prey Dog's Universal Unreal Engine VR mod brings VR support to 11,000 titles, considering bringing 6 degrees of freedom support into games like Atomic Heart and RoboCop, etc. I haven't checked it out yet, but it's pretty amazing to see something like this come to all PCVR users and for free, and compatible with every great Unreal Engine flat screen game that uses 4.8 and 5.3 Unreal Engine. When I play flat screen games, I like to sit down and play, and when I play VR games, I want to play VR. For me, it's one of those things that I would check out for an hour or two and never pick again. But for the PCVR community, if you like playing your games hybrid, it's pretty awesome. Before the last topic, some titles releasing in January are Bulletstorm VR, which will be interesting since it's made by the same devs who developed Green Hell VR, which is low-key at launch kind of booty, but now it's getting better with updates, content, and multiplayer. Hopefully it doesn't use application space warp, or if it does, it's a good implementation and not shoved in last minute like they did on the Quest version of Green Hell VR. And we also have The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners getting a Quest 3 update coming January 16, and I will do a comparison and review of both games, so if you like that, subscribe for similar content. And lastly, finishing off with a Quest 3 topic, Quest 3 shows continued sign of growth on Steam's VR hardware survey, which is a metric, but in my opinion is skewed because I used Rift S and Quest 2 and it only ever logged in my Rift S headset. So the numbers are not exact, but close to telling the story. The survey is also optional, of course, shows that Quest 3 at 4th place takes up 9.27% of the base participants, and with an increase of 3.94% in usage. Meta Oculus branded headsets take up 63.7% of all Steam VR headsets, while standalone devices take up 48.95%. While Quest 2 kind of slowed down, Quest 3 is beginning to pick up pace. And closing off VR, XR, MR, or if you want to go that route, spatial computing, shows no signs of slowing down, but the industry isn't unscathed. Better than 2022 with the amount of layoffs, year of efficiency, and metaverse memes, which are pretty funny. VR is having a good start in 2024 and I can't wait for what more is to come. If you like VR news, comparisons, updates, consider dropping a sub. And yeah, until the next video, bye.